unfold.
Have you ever looked up at the night sky and just felt a little bit creeped out by the silence? I mean, with all those stars, all those galaxies, all those chances for life, you'd think it would be noisy out there. Well, today we're going to dive into that silence, and why the most likely answer to the question, where is everybody, is actually way more terrifying than you can imagine.
Okay, just to set the stage, let's try to wrap our heads around the scale we're dealing with. That number, that's 200 sectillion. It's our best guess for how many stars are in the observable universe. And to put that in perspective, it's like 10,000 stars for every single grain of sand on the entire planet Earth. Every beach, every desert, combined. Each one of those is a sun. Each one is a potential home for life.
So when you realize just how many lottery tickets the universe has bought, this simple question, famously asked by the physicist Enrico Fermi way back in 1950 over lunch, becomes genuinely haunting. I mean, our galaxy alone should have billions of Earth-like planets. The cosmos should be buzzing with life, a symphony of signals. But instead, there's just nothing. A deep, profound silence.
Right. So this massive contradiction, the super high probability that life should exist versus the total lack of evidence that it does, that's the Fermi paradox. And it's not just a fun little puzzle. It's what some people call logical cosmic horror, because it pretty much screams that our basic understanding of how life and intelligence work is just deeply, fundamentally wrong about something.
And the best explanation we've got for this unnatural silence is a concept called the Great Filter. The idea is simple, and it's chilling. It suggests that somewhere on the long road from a dead rock to a civilization that can travel between the stars, there's a wall, a barrier, a hard step that is so incredibly difficult to get past that, well, basically nobody ever does.
And this is where it gets really, really scary. We're pretty sure the Great Filter has to exist, but we have no idea where it is on our timeline. There are really only two options, and honestly, both of them are terrifying in their own way. Option one, the filter is in our distant past. That means we are a complete, lonely miracle. Option two, the filter is in our future, which means we're walking toward a cliff that has a 100% fatality rate.
Okay, so let's explore that first possibility, which is kind of the optimistic one if you can call being utterly alone optimistic. This is the idea of the lonely miracle. The Great Filter is behind us. We already passed the test. Getting to where we are today required a chain of events so statistically impossible that we might just be the only ones who ever pulled it off. So what were these impossible steps? Well, the evidence suggests there might have been at least 3 of them, forming this brutal gauntlet that life had to run. First, just getting life started at all. Second, making the huge leap from simple slime to complex creatures. And third, just winning the planetary lottery to have a place where any of this could even happen. Just think about that very first step, abiogenesis. It might be the Great Filter all on its own. It turns out, water, which is essential for life as we know it, is also fantastic at breaking down the very molecules needed to build life, like RNA. On top of that, life needs all of its amino acids to be what we call left-handed, but nature just makes a random 50-50 mix. The odds of a single, simple cell just randomly assembling itself are so ridiculously low. I mean, you have a better chance of winning the lottery every single day for a year. It's basically impossible.
But let's say life does start. So what? For 2 billion years, that's almost half the time Earth has even existed, life was stuck. It was just a boring global ocean of bacteria, a stasis of slime. The only reason that ever changed was because of a 1 in a trillion freak accident where one simple cell swallowed another one and somehow they survived, creating the ancestor of every complex thing alive today, us included. And as far as we can tell from the fossil record, it only happened once.
And even if you get complex life, you still need a stage for the show to go on. To develop advanced technology, you need oceans for life to evolve in, sure, but you also need continents, dry land, so you can discover fire and start working with metals. And it turns out that perfect balance is incredibly rare. The latest models show that the universe is probably filled with hellscapes, either total water worlds or completely barren rocks. The odds of finding a planet like ours? Maybe 1 in 10,000.
And you know what? Our brand new super powerful James Webb Space Telescope is backing this up. Between 2024 and 2025, we took a hard look at the most promising planets out there. That so-called biosignature on K2-18b? Yeah, it turned out to be just methane, not life. And the 7 supposedly Earth-like planets in the TRAPPIST-1 system, all of them are just bare, sterile rocks with no atmosphere. The closer we look, the more it seems like we're the only ones home.
Okay, but what if all of that was wrong? What if getting life, and even complex life, is actually easy? What if the universe is jam-packed with planets that got to where we are now? Well, that leads us to the second, and frankly, much, much darker possibility. The Great Filter isn't a barrier you have to climb over. It's an executioner that's waiting for you.
This quote from the philosopher Nick Bostrom just captures the logic perfectly. It sounds crazy, right? Why would finding life on Mars be a bad thing? Well, think about it. If we find even simple bacteria on Mars, it proves that starting life is easy. If we find fossils of complex creatures, it proves that step is easy too. And if getting to our stage is common but the galaxy is completely silent, well, that can only mean that some later step is the filter, a filter that nobody ever survives. In this scenario, we should be on our knees praying that Mars is a dead rock. So, what could this future filter be? It would have to be some kind of universal trap that intelligent life sets for itself every single time. And the candidates? They're probably going to sound pretty familiar. A super-intelligent AI that we can't control, a chain reaction of orbital debris that traps us on Earth forever, a nuclear war that plunges us into a winter where nothing can grow, or maybe the most subtle and deadly one of all. We just become too institutionally fragile, too caught up in our own nonsense to actually solve the problems that threaten our very survival.
This all feeds into how we think about the famous Drake equation, which tries to estimate how many civilizations are out there. Look at this table. Back in the 80s, people were optimistic and guessed there could be millions of civilizations. But now, our 2025 data-driven estimates for life and intelligence just emerging have absolutely plummeted. And look at that last variable, L, the lifespan of a civilization. It's gone from a hopeful 10 million years to maybe less than 200. When you run the numbers now, the equation spits out an answer of less than 1, as in just us.
And if you want a really chilling, almost too-on-the-nose sign for how we're doing on that front, get this. In 2024, one of the world's leading academic centers, an institute at Oxford literally dedicated to figuring out how to prevent human extinction, was shut down. Not because the threats disappeared, no. It was shut down because of administrative and bureaucratic hurdles. I mean, if we can't even keep the lights on for the people studying our survival, what does that say about our actual chances?
So, where does that leave us? We're staring down the barrel of two possible realities, two stories to explain the Great Silence. So which is it? Is the universe a vast empty graveyard, or is it a cosmic slaughterhouse where we're just waiting for our number to be called?
Let's be clear. In scenario A, the graveyard, the horror comes from the crushing weight of responsibility. If we're this tiny island of meaning in a dead, pointless universe, then if we fail, everything goes dark forever. In scenario B, the slaughterhouse, the horror is one of pure, unstoppable doom. It means intelligence isn't a gift, it's a fatal disease, a terminal diagnosis. The silence is just the sound of every other civilization before us hitting the exact same wall that we are currently sprinting toward.
So, what's the verdict? Right now, the latest evidence from astronomy, all those empty planets, the lack of any signals, it does seem to tilt things slightly toward us being rare, towards the filter being behind us. But that is not a reason to relax, because the sheer number and scale of the existential risks we've created for ourselves prove that even if we are a 1 in a sextillion miracle, we are an unbelievably fragile one.
And so we're left with this one last question to chew on. Is the silence of the universe a tomb? Proof that no one ever makes it out alive? Or is it a waiting room, and we're just the first ones to show up for the party? The answer, whichever it is, probably depends entirely on what we choose to do next and whether we're smart enough to pass a final exam that, so far, has a 0% success rate.